President Whitaker, Dean Cassiani, members of the faculty, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to be here today, and perhaps it's for a unique reason, as this honor is not for something I did, but rather it's for something wonderful that Humber College has done. But first, a bit of background. I do volunteer at Humber, and I only half-jokingly refer to all my volunteer work as penance for my investment banking days. Sometimes when something good happens to me, like today, I actually feel a little guilty, but not today, because I don't know if you know, but today Dr. Evil is also getting an honorary degree. Perhaps the only guy in the world who could actually make investment bankers look good. So the folks at 7 p.m. get Mike Myers, you guys are stuck with me. Now, we've been running an entrepreneurship and innovation workshop at Humber, which is a broad-based experiential program where students engage in real-world startup business problems to learn skills such as reasoning, perspective, questioning, investigating, observing, describing, comparing, connecting. In essence, dealing with complexity. Skills that I believe can only be taught through experience and experimentation. What education and knowledge models might call the second loop of learning. We further believe that these skills can in fact be taught and that the 99% can all be entrepreneurs. Peter Drucker defined entrepreneurship at its core as the ability to systematically analyze an opportunity. That's basically it. It's basically the skill to solve dynamic and complex problems, a skill that is not only required in startups, but across business, politics, and social problems as well. As this relates to Humber, I want to recall Diane Ravitch, who was the Assistant Secretary of Education in the 91 to 93 administration of George H. Bush, who subsequently wrote 2 wonderful books where she recanted her earlier support for the reform agenda in education. Now, I don't want to start a debate, but I just want to highlight one point, that her newly refined views included becoming a proponent for the use of field experiments. It is far better to stop and think than to plunge ahead vigorously, she said, doing what is not only ineffective, but is also wrong. We must always be open to trying new ideas in the schools, but we should try them first on a small scale and gather evidence before applying and mandating new ideas nationwide. Although our workshop is just this little tiny, almost meaningless initiative, on another level, it's absolutely wonderful and profound that a major institution such as Humber would not only allow us to undertake this field experiment, but actually encourage us. This is especially significant since, according to recent consultant studies, over 50% of corporate change or problem-solving initiatives fail for the incredibly simple reason that leaders simply don't model the behaviors they expect in others. I'm sure some of our recent and current business and political leaders jump to mind. It was Tolstoy that said, "Everyone thinks of changing the world. Nobody thinks of changing himself." For students here, as you go forward in the world, every day you'll be faced with what I call wicked problems. These are reflexive problems, problems dealing with human complexity. They require innovation and creativity as well as inward reflection. We don't know the answer to these questions, to these problems. We don't know even whether we're asking the right questions. These are not problems that lend themselves to a linear mechanical building block or silo-like approach to problem solving. I'm not sure I'm getting to the root of the issue here, so I want to share one more thing with you. Wicked problems can, in essence, only be solved by a collective of people. We can solve any problem we want, so long as the collective wants to solve that problem. This is because it is people who have to buy in. It is the collective that is impacted by change and innovation, and it is the collective that mirrors modeled behaviors. Even if that collective is just a small startup team and their early adopter customers and supporters. I can reinforce this truth in scientific terms as an inevitable bottom-up organic evolutionary system of problem-solving adaptability, a humility and respect for the whole that nature imposes on us. I could highlight it in philosophical terms. It was Gandhi that said, "Be the change." I could even put it in childlike terms. You'll recall your own parents telling you that monkey see, monkey do, to highlight the negative, or asking you to lead by example to accentuate the positive. So in essence, we can solve any problem that's worth solving, so long as collectively we want to. The phrase, "we get the leaders we deserve," rings true. There will be people on either side of a problem or an issue. These protagonists can somewhat simplistically be painted as change agents versus incumbents, or in some cases, the forces of good versus evil. How do we tell the difference? Well, now you have a rule of thumb. The good guys try to influence folks on the basis of fairness and a bottom-up, community-centric buy-in validated by a progression of logical experiments. The evil ones are incumbents, typically on the basis of fear or willful inaction. And who's the fight over? Well, it's the vast majority of the people in the middle. They are the focus of all this attention, and for the most part, these people are asleep. They're passive, maybe even a bit scared, which is why so often evil wins over. Think about an important issue. You see something in the news or something happens at work, we sure do not lack problems. You're frustrated, maybe you're angry. You're going to do something about it. Then you wake up and go about the anticlimax of your regular day. The resolution of every problem, to one degree or another, suffers from the same apathy. And statistically, there's a chance that you're in the middle. There's a probability that you're asleep. The challenge I want to leave you with, the only way you'll solve any problem, and yes, first you have to pick a problem, pick an important problem you care about and that motivates you, is to call BS on the leaders and institutions that don't model the behavior that they expect from others. This one action will be your personal commitment to yourself and externally that will force you to wake up to act as a problem-solving entrepreneur. So pick a problem, become a member of a collective, whether it's a startup or a social problem, commit to a progression of validating experiments, and model the behavior that you expect in others. By definition, you will be a leader. I'd again very much like to thank Humber for supporting our little experiment, and especially Tony Gifford for having our backs. We know we've been entrusted with the most valuable of resources, our students. We have made and will continue to make mistakes, as is the case in all field experiments, but we make these with sincerity of intent and a commitment to learn from them. I'd also like to thank my co-conspirators, my own collective, Grayson, Diane, Steve, Dan, Scott, John, and Colleen. Thank you very much.